Clark Brown, good to see you, buddy.
Hey, what's going on?
I'm glad you took the time. I have been watching the emails come in talking about your new courses. I have a lot of questions about them. One in particular really gets me going. But obviously, my audience knows who you are. I think I mentioned you on almost every prospect phone call. Why? Because most restorers desperately need your help. So I apologize for that. But okay, give me what's the 90-second Clark Brown CV bio for folks who don't know you.
90 seconds is 21st year in the industry, was a restorer, contractor, worked for others, bought, built, and sold a few of my own companies. And also I have history just in the service industry. Outside of restoration, I know what it means to serve people and serve people that need something that we have that they don't. So that our consulting company now, and consulting is obviously a word I hate to use, but I love coach and mentor because I was a sports player. But I have a small firm that we have a very specific avatar of small to medium sized restoration companies. That's all. We have no car wash owners and no barbers in our client list. We work with restorers because we speak the language, and I stay ahead of the pulse of the industry. But we just help people with mostly their operational organizational structure, get the foundation, get their systems in place, and ultimately, this is it. Red flag, green flag, checker flag. Red flag is I feel like I'm trapped in my business and I'm an employee. To what am I going to do with all this extra time? I've got to figure out what to do with it. And so we it's a lot in there. Said I did that for years, but now I've been able to successfully do that dozens of times and hundreds of times with students and courses and stuff. And so now I'm just a little more bold, a little more confident that we have packaged the system that in 2023, when we're recording this, of how you should run your business and not like we did in 1993 or even 2002. I think it's a different landscape, and every business in the world, if they don't evolve, they dissolve. So that's my 87-second pitch. And other than that, just good friends with John. We just have fun and send funny cat memes to each other all the time. That's it.
We do. I would say I'm assuming some of my clients will watch this, so I do not mean to offend anyone, but there is a point in my relationship with existing clients and with prospects. I've said before, my sales process with prospects is awful because it's basically the timing's not right for you. You don't have the money. Call me in 6 months. That's almost every sales call I do. But inevitably, as I'm uncovering things on that call, I'm trying to diagnose before I treat, right? At some point with prospects and with current clients, I say, do you know who Clark Brown is? And they go, oh, it sounds familiar. And then I just walk them through the many, many reasons why they desperately need restoration advisors to come in and help. It's like the bar rescue. You are the bar rescue of the restoration world. So you're the John Tafferty that comes in, and in my mind, I think you're a little nicer, but okay. So that's you in a nutshell. That's good to know.
Thank you, John.
So thinking about these courses, first, why e-courses versus in person? Are you still doing in person? That's a follow-up.
So yes, we're still doing in person. I was actually on a large in person last week, not with a client like a constant client on a retainer. It's just someone who's periodically, as they've gone through a new level of growth in their company or challenges, come to the surface. So I was in Las Vegas and spoke to a leadership group of 14 people, and that's an on-site. I'm not opposed to traveling, but I'm like everybody else. If we can figure out a way to do this and travel less, we will. We have coached clients on retainer, going through our system, our process, which is called ROS, and we'll talk about that if you want in a little bit. But I found myself with looking at our avatar, John, and we kind of share, when I say avatar, our client, our target that we work best with. A lot of them are still, whether or not we want to admit, they're still sucked into their business, and time is the commodity. Time is the limitation. And I just found more people saying, if you could just put that into something I could watch, because content watching is huge now, whether it's YouTube or I don't have any TikTok courses, but if it's whatever it is, that's more natural for people for their tablet or their phone. And I just found that a couple of years ago, I said, if I could take some of this stuff, like John, things that I've said 100 times and put those into a comfortable delivery. And I had to learn how to do courses. That's not just like sitting on a tailgate talking to someone. It has to be a cadence. It has to be a summarizing direction going in one direction. That was hard for me because I'm just from the hip, talk to people, and just discover stuff. But I just found I had a few things that I talk about so often that were modular enough to put into an e-course. And, we validated it. We said, is there a market for this? And of course, everybody said, oh, I love that, love that, love that. Then when, they came out, not everyone loved it, or not everyone has time. They thought they did, but I've got some short courses and some longer ones, and they're very much things that all complement each other. And they're just what we already talk about. So it's almost like pick path 1, path 2. There's nothing better than having a coach or a mentor. And I have one now. I pay a very large amount a year for a coach that's helping me be a better coach. And because my knowledge only takes me to here, and I don't want to go there. I want to go there. And there are others beat me that aren't as good as me. And I don't like that. I'm competitive, Kobe, whatever you want to say. But the courses we started producing were a natural. I look back at my first one, I redid it. Because we're always going to be like, we don't like the first iteration of everything. And that's your business. That's your everything, your look, your hairdo. If you look at your 1988 hairdo, you're like, no wonder I cut it. Our first course was a very small one. These are all available on our website. It's Xactimate. Now, I don't teach Xactimate. I don't use Xactimate. But what I have done is sat through 50 courses and thousands of phone calls about how you have control over what you charge and what to do when the insurance company says you don't charge that. So that was I call it a mini course. It's probably 110 minutes long. It's a few short modules, lots of downloads with the affirmation and the ammunition to back up what you're saying and what I'm teaching. And then we built another one, John, which was the big signature course at that time was 60 days to build a strong restoration company. Doesn't mean you can build a strong restoration company in 60 days unless you're absolutely a freak of nature. But over the course of 60 days, whether or not you watch them sequentially or consistently, there's 60 individual models in 12 categories between operations, marketing, culture, laws, certifications, equipment you need and don't need, helping people save time and money from those of us that have done it 100 times wrong. And hopefully that one's been very, very popular. You're like me, someone will call, and this is why the courses are big. Someone will call and it's just too early. I'm kind of expensive because I'm worth it. Right. So, the ROI is there, but some people just aren't at the position to A, the time they're still in the truck, or B, afford it to I don't want to sink someone's boat because of the cash flow. So a course is like, take this, get going, break some stuff, figure out what's going on. Hopefully you get a little bigger and you start having some new problems and we'll be a better fit. And that has actually come true a dozen times. I think what you've been seeing lately is probably, so that was the 60 days, which fits a lot of models for a lot of people just getting started, thinking about, should I go independent? Should I go franchise? Yeah. Because they want to plug and play business.
Let me say, anybody who is thinking getting into the restoration business, yes, that's a no-brainer. You should watch that. It's almost like a restoration business devotional, so you should have called it that. And I wouldn't have charged you a lot for that idea. But so that's a no-brainer. But it's also the guys 5 and 6 years in. Yeah, because we know between the two of us, we have talked to probably 10,000 restorers. They're all making the same mistakes. They've all made the same mistakes. And so we hear the same things. I tell people all the time, I have the same conversation, 2 and 3 times a day, every day for 10 years. And I'm on some calls, I find myself kind of going into autopilot because it's the same. I'm struggling with this and I'm struggling with that, and I need this and I need that, and so you've been able to put that into a downloadable program, and that's awesome. So it is right before, are we going to launch this thing? But it's also that guy he's been riding in that truck for 5 or 6 years, kind of banging his head against the wall and figuring out, what do I do from here? So I like that about
our data, John, from our assessment that we have people fill out when they finish it or whatever. It's about 60-40. It's about 60 new. Then 40% are those 2 to 5 years saying, I launched without knowing what I didn't know, but now I know more. But I don't want to reinvent the wheel, and I don't want to waste that time again another 5 years doing it the wrong way. This is a perfect fit. And listen, $489. It's less than
that's nothing.
It's more than a cup of coffee, but it's less than you probably lost on your last job from giving money back to the insurance company. I even talk about how you should negotiate and how you can support that, and how you should be probably know what your prices are and why you charge them. So there's a lot in there that come from, that's where they all come from. They all come from conversation. I didn't make any of them up. They all come from pain points, solutions, and then things that we resolved, and people said, that's a great idea. So now my idea was, you said devotional. I was thinking master class, but you can get on your knees and thank me if you want to. I'm kidding. But it was a fun one. That was interesting because my first course was pretty simple. Just a little bit of research, pulling some assets together. I have the tools to build an LMS of courses. The second one was a whole lot more outlines. There was some editing involved. It was much bigger, and how it flowed. Having a course is like 4 modules is different than 64. Yeah. So how that all went together, and I still look back and see what I did wrong, and part of me said, my coach says, don't redo your stuff, just make the next one better. So we just recently launched the other one, which took me 2 years, and that was just from a interruption from just life and stuff like that, but also learning what I'd learned and wanting to get it right. But it's client onboarding. I think client onboarding is something we talk about a lot, and it sounds like a lot of different things, but what it is how do we position and gain trust, set expectations in this world where there are other parties, stakeholders, adjusters, TPAs, that are trying to subvert that are trying to slice off a piece of it, but we don't have that piece to give, or I hope we don't. But how do we not look like the bad guy, remain intact with our empathy, and not leave the customer at the mercy of this tumultuous triangle of people pulling with all kinds of different narratives? That's what this course is. It gives confidence and competence to you knowing, I know what I charge and I know why, and communications happened all throughout this stuff. They actually, some cues happen before you even meet your client. I talk about that. Language on your website, language in your social media marketing should allude to client first, client focus. You have insurance? Great. I'm glad you have that. We're working with you, and we'll prepare a job and all the documentation to make sure that you have, in the terms of what today's landscape of insurance look like, a reimbursable claim, because you have all the documentation. That's what people are looking for. So that course launched, and we've been promoting as hard because some people still have said, I didn't know you released that, and they find it, but we're happy with it. I think they all 3 serve a purpose for, honestly, Toby that works for me, the ops manager, said today, why don't we make a bundle? Like all 3 in one bundle, one price. And this is a restoration starter pack. You're going to use Xactimate, build a business, learn how to deal with the customer, and then we'll see what's next. So it's fun, John, it's a different landscape for me, but it also is going to serve, but during COVID, they said the course world, the e-course world has become a multiple $1 billion. You can go to Udemy and see. And I just think that you said the older guys like my age, they're not going to sit and watch a course. But man, I look at the demographics of who's been buying, the under 40 to under 35, consuming it. It's digging me on our email saying, loved module number 14. Boom, had that situation last week. I get energy from that. So it's been fun to do that as well as our regular day-to-day coaching that we do. But that's something that will happens while I'm sleeping, and that's what we all want. I'm wanting to buy back my time. What's something that I don't have to repeat it? I can sell something that's affordable, easy for them. They consume it, they grow, and they still might come back. So it kind of checks all the boxes for us.
Okay, so that answers the question as to why e-courses. You're absolutely right. So the YouTube University generation, the guys, and I'm probably on the tail end of that because I'm kind of an early adopter. I watch YouTube to learn how to do everything.
Me too.
I started working on dirt bikes a couple of years. I don't know how to work on dirt bikes, but YouTube does, and YouTube
You do now.
me. Yeah, some hillbilly in Mississippi taught me how to work on dirt bikes, right? So that
Thanks, Boa.
Yeah, there is a demo where that makes perfect sense, and they expect you must have an e-course, and what you've done is you've taken 21 years in the business and you've put it in a little bottle that they can just consume when they need it. So that's awesome. But you kind of almost glazed over client onboarding as the newest module. The first question is, why is client onboarding important?
What I like to say, John, is it's setting expectations and telling people that you have a process of what you do. There's intention behind it. And we as restorers, we know why we're doing what we do. We talked about this before privately. Customers don't know grain pounds. They don't know what the insurance experience is going to be like. They don't know how long we're going to be there, how loud it's going to be, how hot it's going to be, what these chemicals are, what that has. They don't know these things. And we're not so great at, like in the retail world, you're onboarded every single day. I just rented a vehicle from Turo, the Turo app where you can rent cars like Airbnb.
Yeah.
And you're onboarded in such a way. This car, this is how you do that. This is where you're going to go to get out of it. This is what, it's quirks or whatever. These are people's cars. I guess in a nutshell, John, is what I've gotten from this course is if you don't tell the customer your plans and your program, you're going to be by default put into someone else's or their own for what they Googled. So I'd rather tell people this is what to expect on here. And I use these stories all the time. When I fly on an airplane, I don't want to get on an airplane if I don't think that the pilot and the crew have a plan and a process. I'm not so comfortable, and I'll certainly get angry if I was expecting a 1 hour flight and it ends up being 3. It's not going to be a good experience for me just because my expectations are wrong. Whether it's, the course talks about, I recommend putting a number on a job up front. It keeps the sticker shock down. Customers get a bill from you for $8,000. They were expecting $1,200. You're going to have some friction there, and you've got to explain. And honestly, any trust that you did build starts to dissolve through that.
Yeah.
And so that's to me what the onboarding is. But it's just making sure that as much as we care about the customers, that they feel it beyond just what we know, because they don't know that we've had 20,000 hours of doing this. They just know that I don't know you. You had a lot of reviews online that can be trusted sometimes, blah, blah, blah. But then everything else, like Chick-fil-A, I use Chick-fil-A as it starts to stack. There's a consistency, there's validation, and people, you can really, once you've onboarded the customer and the things that you said are going to happen, do happen, you can actually mess up a little bit and it's okay. But if you mess up and that customer doesn't trust you, it's pretty bad. And the things that you predict that might happen with the insurance company, if there is a problem, when that comes true and actually the language and the vernacular of what they say back happens, you're all of a sudden not a fortune teller, you're a hero, because you're looking out for the customer and you're on their side.
And, yeah.
You're on their side.
When you first mentioned to me, I don't know when, a while ago, that you were, working on a client onboarding course and going to be releasing it soon. I think I mentioned at the time, I certainly thought of the thousands and thousands of posts that we've both read on social media and it's always the same. So I've got this customer, right?
Yeah.
And then here's the breakdown in communication that was all my fault, and they never, pinpoint that, right? But the adjuster's saying this, and then this guy's saying this, and almost all of those come back to improper client onboarding. If they just would have taken the time to know how to onboard, and I come from a sales background where we called it road mapping.
Roadmap.
Before you ever sell anything to anybody, you walk them through the process. You get permission along the way, and it's pulling out a map and going, okay, we're here. The goal is to get here. Here's how we're going to do that. Are you with me? We're halfway through, or and so that is why it's so important. And oftentimes, especially in emergency services, restorers will get on scene and just, we want to get a signature, we want to get to work. And so 2 weeks after or 4 days after that project has begun, that's when this lack of communication, improper onboarding, road mapping of the client, that's when you start getting all that friction. You start seeing sparks fly. So I am 100% about this module.
And we all know that especially emergency services, things change quickly. The whole process goes pretty quickly.
Yeah.
A customer is in a state of, if anyone doesn't realize it, they're in trauma. I don't care how minimal the lane is. Your brain defaults to instinctually kind of freak out. I've had a flood in my house, and after doing this for 21 years, I found myself let's freak out. Like, this is the end of the world. So they're going through that. I certainly think that everybody on day 2 should repeat what they said on day 1, affirm it. But yeah, onboarding, imagine, we mentioned it. You've got this, somebody's calling, we've got this iPhone. What if you went and were told this was $1,000, but you don't know what it can do for you? You're onboarded from the commercials. I think that in some ways your business is, but the course goes into a lot of stuff. I obviously couldn't dare. It's a bigger course. It's not as big as our 60 days. But
how long is it?
John, I knew you were going to ask me that. Damn it.
Sorry.
I would say you probably watched it back to back. It's broken up into modules and then lessons inside those, so it's easier to follow. We shift gears, pivot, segue. It's probably under 3 hours if you watch it all in. The videos themselves, none of them are over 17 or 18 minutes, so it really keeps the attention. It's not all just my mug talking.
Yeah, but that's a Marvel movie. That's nothing. You could break
it's a Marvel movie. That, by the way, One Job pays for that course. It's on our website. Having a customer saying, what is this bill here? You guys weren't even here, blah, blah, blah. And the onboarding, I was going to add this. One more part of onboarding is also telling not the customer what we're going to do, but what we're not going to do.
Right.
There's such a big gap between what we call scope creep of a customer expects you to do the other things unless you verbalize that this number or even what I can do legally stops here. I did not plan to move your contents because you said you had someone from the church or a friend or neighbor that was going to do it. But if we need to add that back in, let's just have a conversation. Let me put a number on it and see how it needs to happen, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
That's a lot of it too, is saying that. And then secondly, for those that are in the full service business or reconstruction, I have a visual. The course comes with the visual editable piece where I can create like a chutes and ladders of these are the steps of mitigation. We stop here, we get paid here.
Okay.
Then once paid, we move into the reconstruction phase. And there might be some overlap, but we don't start reconstruction until mitigation's paid and our deposit for our reconstruction is paid. That way, the customer is not angry at ABC Restoration because you told them this is how I work. This is my program. This is how we do our best work. They now are focusing their eyes where they should have been all along, which is that person that said they would be there for them when this happened. So that piece alone, you just in a short 2 weeks it's been out, people have called back and said that downloadable has helped me crystallize in a visual way, because a lot of people are visual, of how we're going to work. They edit it and put their logos on it and all those kinds of things, which is great. But listen, I'm obviously a big fan of my own stuff, but I just can't imagine running a restoration company now today with the increased pressure from outside sources of not owning your customer, having them believe you're their contractor, and how dare you. And I get emails from clients that say, look at my customers. They tagged me on a response to their insurance company, completely protecting their contractor, saying, they did everything they said. You're the ones that won't answer my phone calls. You didn't come to the job. You're wanting their pictures. They're doing your job for you. And you want to cut their bill. You don't want to pay me in full for what it actually cost. And so it's really fun because it really touches something in me that I like to empower people like you do. And this is something that people can put Thor's hammer in their hand and say, yeah, come on, let's go.
Is this a course for owner operators only, or can project managers take this as well?
I recommend that, depending on the infrastructure of your company, I certainly think it's owner operators, but I certainly think that whether or not they watch it by themselves first, everybody gets access to it in their company. It's something that other key players in your company will need, because everybody plays a different part. Technicians, answering the phone. This is built and it's shared in there how they should find key people and who should be. Listen, some people are better at scripting how to do these conversations than the owner. Owner is so passionate about this thing. He's so attached to it. Let someone who writes well, who the customers love, let them be the concierge. And they are your onboarding concierge, your ambassador. So this is definitely, I tell everybody, your technician should know how to onboard your customer, and it should match what everybody else is saying. And because when we do what we said we would do, you just won that customer, because that's all we're looking for is consistency. So good question, but yes, it's for everyone. The workbook can be downloaded. All the assets are downloadable. And I would like an office to sit and say, every week for the next 3 weeks, we're going to sit and watch 1 hour and we're going to take this course. And on week 4, we're going to get to work and start building it. So that's the way I like to, that's the way I envision people to implement it in their business.
And it's, we're kind of coming out of the slow season. July and August tend to be the slowest months of the year in most parts of the country. But this is something that, especially if we have a continued spicy storm season and then a colder than normal winter for most parts of the country, this is something guys need to implement now, because in the heat of a rush, that's when you're going to suffer the most. And that's, you got to think about 6 months down the road when you're still fighting a carrier or a homeowner or both. If you just would have invested that 3 hours, changed your operations a little bit, educated your people, you could avoid all those headaches. Most of those headaches, you're always going to find nuts. But I'm a huge believer. I'm sending it out tomorrow to my folks around the country, my clients, and put my seal of approval on it. And then once we cut this video, I'll send this out to them as well. You mentioned ROS. What is ROS?
ROS is, I'm a visionary. I'm a very, all the things that we do are my baby. This is my new baby. This is a newborn, pretty picture holding it. ROS is our products that we have taken all of our years now that we've been in doing the coaching and mentoring, which is moving up on 6.5 years now, putting it into a modular package where we can deliver it consistently and scale a little bit better. So it's restoration operating systems. You have iOS on your computer, you have Windows. A lot of businesses have ingredients sitting in the kitchen, but there's no recipe on how it all goes together. I was talking to someone the other day and they said, I need SOPs and I need an org chart. I said, those are incredibly important, but it's like a roof and electricity. If you don't have a foundation, your roof won't stand up. And if you don't have stud walls that are plumb and electricity in a panel, your electricity won't work. So everything complements each other, and your business is an operating system. And everybody wants an operating system. And some people buy a franchise thinking that we're going to get one, and there are a lot of components in those. Yeah. But restoration operating system is I don't want to get salesy. It's 3 phases. You're in 3 phases in your business, and it's in 9 steps, 3 steps per one. And it takes you from stuck in the business, owner / wearing 14 hats, to the CEO or more importantly, I like to call it, you should be the shareholder. You should be a person that doesn't have a plate full of things to do except to walk around, inspire people, think of big ideas, make big relationships, and just kind of keep the boat going, the plane going the right direction. And this has it all. It's some components of. I was doing some math the other day, John, and I have invested an embarrassingly high amount. I mean, I put all of my profits of our company back into me because it's a long-term thing. I've learned from coaches, I've learned from courses, I bought systems, and some people that heard of EOS, Entrepreneur Operating System, are going to recognize a couple of the components there. But we also have studied, Brian Tracy, Dan Sullivan, and John Maxwell, and all these things. It's just a culmination of it's a trademark. I'm really proud to have trademarked something in my life. Coming from East Texas, I'm like, I got a trademark, and I'm from nowhere. But ROS is going to be something that I envision that, and this is what we coach, and this is what people say. Once I got my business in order, everything else kind of got easier. Like I could scale quicker. I could make better decisions. My cash flow, I actually have 8 months of capital in my bank so I can operate. I can start turning down jobs that I don't want and go after bigger, better jobs. I can buy some equipment to leverage. Those things are hard when you're treading water. But when you have a business that's, I said yesterday, for purpose, with purpose, and on purpose, it becomes easier, and then you feel great. And we all know when we feel great, we do better work. We're just lit. We make better decisions when we don't feel overwhelmed. And this takes them through the phases of structure, systemization, get systems in place, all of them. And then you get into scale, because what I found, John, in ROS, and this is the exciting part for me, is at the last phase, and we have several clients that are there, when they are now no longer needed in their business and they are like taking a month off, it can get uncomfortable for the certain personality types. Like, I don't know what to do with my time now. This creates new habits because you're still needed. Doesn't mean your hands off, go have fun every day. Shift your time and your energy towards this. And I'll tell you what, when I onboard new clients, or when my team does, we kind of like, what are the big goals? What do you want this business to mean for you and your family? And we'll often hear a lot of different things. Sometimes it's like to buy a Harley, like to buy a boat, like to buy a house at the Tetons or Montana or Florida. The truth is, and I will tell them, you can already probably buy the boat and the Harley and maybe even the house. You probably have the capital. It wouldn't make a huge impact. What you want is the time to go ride, to go see Mount Rushmore. What you want is the boat to go on a fishing trip out toward the Bahamas. What you want is a beach house that you can go to for a month, come back, and your desk is clear, no emails. That's what you want, and that's what a business is. It's not a job, it's a business. So I envision ROS to be, I love the logo. I love it. I would like people to say, if you want to put on your email at the bottom, an ROS business, put it on your truck. I'm not saying we're IICRC, but brand it, saying that, and maybe one day the public will say, I'd like to see a business that runs with a real structure implemented, like almost like ASE certified for electricians. Who knows? I mean, I'm not going to discount anything. So that's what ROS is. We just launched. John, our first coach said the first thing we do when we launch is you reach out to the people that you already know. It's actually two lists. People you like to work with or you would enjoy working with because you like who they are and what they stand for. And then people that you think in that group that probably could benefit from this, like have the dreams come true. And then they intersect and contact those people, say, listen, I'm doing something super cool. No pressure, but would you like to talk about it? Because I think you want to have a free life and a business that allows you to create new opportunities. So far, it's been really cool. We've just launched. A lot of energy. We've got some stuff to do. It's not 90. It's not 100%. Nothing is, but we're going to perfect it. But it doesn't feel like it's new because we've been doing it for a while. But it's now something with the name instead of like we coach people through their business.
Right. I get it.
We now have something that we can model and promote. So
you mentioned specifically franchises, and most people think when they're buying a franchise system, it's turnkey. It's everything. It's just walk in, turn on the lights, get to work, make money. If I'm a franchisee, maybe at year 2, and the promises made in my franchise agreement and the FDD and the sales pitch maybe isn't living up to everything that it probably should be. Is this something I can adopt? Obviously, I'm gonna stick with the franchise system, right? I've made that investment, but can I adopt something like ROS and implement that in my franchised business?
100% yes. And I'll go a step further. In our partner ring, we call them partners, not clients. We have 5 franchises. We are not changing their brand. We're not changing the direction of the company. What we're doing is we're giving them if nothing else, I expect one day for these franchisors to reach out to me and say, thank you for making my franchises more profitable, because we make money when they make money. And I get a lot of calls from franchises that feel that year 2, year 5 saying, this wasn't on the advertisement. And sometimes it's just like, they're kind of sold me a business with relationships of a place that I don't want to go to. Like there's a lot of insurance relationships that just aren't profitable, and you don't own the customer, and which is what we all want. So we have several, most of the color trucks. I certainly have a lot of friends in that. And some of them just like, they don't want to double pay. I get that. They're like, we're already paying this, but I'm like, okay, but if it's not working, you just triple your revenue, it's going to all work out. But we have a couple of franchises now, and they say the same thing. It's like, we almost could, when we're up for renewal, we've got to ask the question, should we stay? And that's a big conversation. And I said, I'm certainly not, I'll advise on that, on what I think, but every situation is different in your market and blah, blah, blah. But yes, we have found the people that are working with us are small and large. We work with we kind of have a demographic from revenue size and structure size. We actually don't like working with really, really, really big organizations, because they pretty much have figured out a lot of these things to get to that level. But
or people don't realize, too big.
What got you to $1 million won't get you to 2.
Yeah.
And what got you to 2 won't get you to 6. So that's what is the wake up call, is like everyone has a capacity and a level. And this shows you what a $6, $8 to $10 million a year business will look like, but you get to have it at 2, which makes your speed of growth just exponentially. You collapse time, and you get to scale quicker. You don't have to wait for the delayed satisfaction to make the good revenue. Pay people. Labor is really tough. I tell people the most important thing you can do right now is be profitable, so you can attract A players, because there's not a whole lot of them out there. And that's the leverage that you got. So I'm really excited about what we do. I love what we do. I'm not the best salesperson. I could talk about it all day, but understanding, getting through the objections and stuff is just like, I kind of default to like, why would you not want it? But I'm getting better. And I think, listen, what I need is a couple of clients to start promoting and saying this, and they do. And when they do, my phone rings.
Yeah.
But so it's the journey, man. I mean, we all want something faster. We get it, but this is what I've waited all these years to do. And this is why I was away from my family for 17 years traveling to learn these things and stuff. So really fun. And listen, the good part is, if you're working with us on ROS, you get the courses for free.
That's awesome. Well,
because you're going to be taught that. I'm going to teach your whole team how to do that, or Toby is, or whatever coach you're assigned to, success coach.
That's awesome. That spring follow-up podcast, I'll report to you how geofencing is done. I want you to report to me, pick one business that's implemented ROS, and let's look at what were the first 2 months like, second 2 months, third 2 months. That should take us, I mean, even we almost have a full year of data at that point. I would love to see, we know approximately year 1 pain points, or a company that is in year 5 that's acting like a year 1 company. We know the pain points that they're hitting along the way. It'll be very interesting to see how this navigates them around a lot of those.
What's interesting there, John, is year 1 companies, year 2 companies, when they have an area-wide disaster, a freeze or a flood, and they get an onslaught of jobs, and they'll like bank up to, they'll do $500,000, and they're just like, oh
Yep.
my gosh. It's the pain of 4 months later on the cash flow of what that's doing to your company. That's where you're like, wow, we took on more than we could handle. We pissed a lot of people off. We turned down some work but now I've got 280,000, 300,000, by the way, which is my payroll times 50 that I don't have. And I'm leveraging, I'm borrowing money. I'm into an equity line or something like that, or credit cards are maxed. That's where companies stress out. It's not getting work is not hard for a lot of people. It's managing your business is hard, and they complement each other. And that's what I hope that we teach. I like to get people out of, stop thinking that you've got a 1-year business, build a 12-year business that has value. So somebody will show up and say, can I write you a big old fat check and change the trajectory of your family tree for the rest of your life? 20 million. I got a client right now selling for $20 million. Has his family,
Awesome.
he's no one in my family that I know of has ever made over 120.
Yeah.
His life has just changed, and he's already thinking about what can I, and he's a faithful guy. He's like, what can I, think of all the people I can touch and how much I can donate and how much I can support some angel, so it created.
And this guy, I know who you're talking about. He's young.
Oh, he's 40. And his whole thing is, I'm not ready to quit yet. And I said, don't quit.
Of course
just
not.
change.
Yeah, he's still got fire in his belly. And
no, that's not the results everyone's going to have. I want everyone knowing this. I'm not promoting that.
No, but with that particular client, I have observed the impact you've made on his brand over the last couple of years. And I talked about him and you anonymously with some of my clients yesterday, because they're at that same point. They're young. They're younger than that. And they said, look, we are in sell mode, but we know we're a couple of years out, and we are going to hit this thing as hard as we possibly can because we want the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. And then they're out, and they've got multiple businesses. They've got multiple commercial properties, all as a result of literally they came on with us right at the beginning of year 2, and we have watched them just blow up. They are now geofencing customers as well.
Awesome.
They were some of the first ones.
I look at businesses. We're in a business that requires empathy and a lot of concern and care. Like, as an end user, as a restoration contractor. But you can really, really, really stop thinking about your business as an economic product. And it really is. You've invested enough into it. You could certainly there are easier ways to build wealth than grinding out other people's poop in crawl spaces. I've heard that before. Yeah. I think so. I think I heard that on fake news or something like that. But it leverage it, and you can still be both. And that's where a lot of people say, well, I'll be greedy if I make the customer pay for the whole amount. No, you'll be righteous. You'll be telling your employees you're worth it. Here's our employee review in April, and you've really grown, and I'm sending you to get some training, and you'll be worth more, and you can buy your first house. That to me is what a business is. And then let them treat your customers amazing. That's what I teach. I teach people to change their mindset. And I was watching Tony Robbins today, John. I mean, I'm really getting fired up about this, but I'm watching Tony Robbins. Not a big fan. I am shocked at how big that human is. So he's got like the biggest head, but he's talking about most people's success isn't really tied to the mechanics of the tools they use. It's the mindset. They've told themselves this story. We all have heard those speeches, and lots of people don't listen. But if you've told yourself that I can't do those things, you're probably not going to do those things. And then the other side, and I get people call me up, and you probably do, I've tried everything. Well, you just lied to me, because if you tried everything to lose weight, you would be skinnier. You didn't try everything. You tried what you wanted to try. There are the answers out there. It's in the 2023. It's not hard to find answers. YouTube University, we mentioned it. If you want to learn how to raise alpacas in the desert, there's probably somebody out there with a channel with 30,000 viewers that watches that. Learn to do it and do it. That's not what people are missing. It's how will I convince and hack my brain to know that I deserve it, and if they can, I can, and there's a blue ocean for us all. So I don't look at myself as a motivational speaker, but I certainly like to inspire people to know that you're capable for a lot more than you're doing. And I'm on the same journey myself. And You mentioned that big customer that we were just talking about. The truth is I've learned things from him that I could never afford to pay for, just from the experience, from what I've learned from our journey together, will create generational wealth for my business and my family and everybody that works for me. So that's the full circle for me. And that's why I'm doing this. Courses or not, coaching or not. Just if you want to go to our free Facebook group, Restoration Nation, there's no charge. Jump in there. If you like what we do, ask how can you contribute? I'll tell you that too. But I just want this industry to go up from 8% good operators. I'd like to see it 10% by the time I start taking my dirt nap. And if I can do that, I'll have done something bigger than me and us. Yeah. There's a bunch of us doing that. So
I agree. Well, this was a great recap. Very, very exciting products, stuff that really every restoration company can benefit from. And it's been fun watching your journey, going from, when we met in 2017 and you stood in the back of the room, got everybody's attention. And I don't even remember what you were talking about, but I know that you could hear a pin drop in that room, because it was clear from the first 20 seconds of what you were saying that you knew what you were talking about. Everybody stopped and started paying attention. And that's when, I thought, okay, this is somebody I need to know. They know what they're talking about. They speak with authority. And it's been amazing to watch how you have really innovated within this industry of, the subset of consulting, coaching, mentoring. Lord knows our industry needs it.
I like coaching. I'm a sports guy. I just want people to get better and then not need me in 2 years. If we're still working together in a couple of years, either we're really, really growing and we got new big problems, or one of us has not done our work and it's probably a bigger issue and it may be not something I can solve. So I tell everyone that if there's a shelf life and I'm going to be pushing, and it might be uncomfortable, but it's not that hard. And once you've done it once, I wrote a blog yesterday about the 4-minute mile, John. I don't know if you know the story about the 4-minute mile, but
I do.
It was a story that everybody was after, but everybody said you can't do it. But once the guy did it, 38 days later, the record was broken again, and then it was continually broken over the next couple of years. So it's like, wow, now that we know we can go to Mars, let's go to Jupiter.
Yeah.
And that's really the blue ocean. Again, that's big talk. That sounds like YouTube stuff, but once someone gets in that lane, the other little BS things about Sedgwick calling you don't matter as much anymore. And I think that's where you have space and capacity to really blow up.
I agree.
This is fun, man. I appreciate you asking me about it. I like people that are interested in the same things. I'm obviously we had another session, you and I, about your stuff, which is going to be spread out to my circle. Is what's the next thing? Well, this is the next thing, and I'm going to bring it to you. It's going to be really cool.
Awesome.
But yeah, man, appreciate you having me on, and I hope you ease into your winter well, and I hope I see you soon. It's been too long.
Yeah, we will make that happen. And I love this format. Just like you, I hate selling stuff. I love having conversations, and I love talking shop with people who know what they're talking about. So this has been a good session for me. So
cool,
thank you. And where can people find you?
RestorationAdvisors.com, Restoration Nation, just Restoration Advisors, and Google it. I've got a podcast, a blog, which is kind of like, I got a bunch of stuff coming out, and I don't make it hard, but I'd say probably just go to restorationadvisors.com, contact us, subscribe to our blog, and get our newsletter. There's always great tools coming at you, like cool stuff. And then just ask questions and see because I might not be talking about things that you interested in. And I just want to solve your problems and his and her problems. And because I know that's going to do. So restorationadvisors.com, ADVISERS. We'll put it in the link below. And I appreciate you giving me your time on your channels. And again, I think our businesses complement each other. And I think that's why we are like stepbrothers. Is that what we decided? We're probably like stepbrothers.
Yeah, probably.
Cool. Yeah. Twins. Schwarzenegger. Yeah. All right, John. Appreciate you, man.
Clark. Yeah, appreciate you.
See ya.
See ya.